welcome to another episode of the Blueprint Podcast. Today we are out of the studio, man. Y'all started noticing we're doing a more experiential podcast now, and so today we are at Next Level Kutz in Missouri City. We got my guy Byron over here with Build Like Byron, and so we're going to be talking about networking. We're going to be talking about building your personal brand, connecting as a man. And so before we get started, I want to thank you, Mr. Tim Hunt with Next Level Kutz, for giving us the opportunity to come into your shop. So why don't you tell us a little about the Next Level Kutz, and we'll get started.
Yes, sir. Well, Next Level Kutz was established December the 17th, 2019.
Okay.
We started out on Texas Parkway.
Okay.
And now we moved to this new location on Highway 6. And
Gotcha.
we just started off as a kind of small shop and just kind of grew.
Yeah.
One of our goals is just to build a community up and kind of uplift the kids and stuff like that.
Okay. And I guess why did you start the shop in the first place?
Well, just to empower other barbers to take care of their families, man. Mm-hmm. That's all it's about really with me.
Yeah.
So cool. That's it.
All right, awesome. Man, I'm excited for this episode. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Byron, why did we pick the barbershop? What was kind of your thought behind the barbershop and kind of why you wanted this episode here?
Well, honestly, man, the barbershop is our safe place for as gentlemen, man. Sometimes we need that place to have that outlet to be able to go and just kind of be in an environment to where we can be ourselves. No judgment. You can agree to disagree in the barbershop, but also too just the relationships that are built. Just want to give a shout out to Mr. Rick the barber, my barber, man. Appreciate you, brother. Hey, he's been having me right for a good while now, man. The first time I came into the barbershop, man, was just the way I was welcomed in, man. You know what I mean? Didn't have a barber, didn't set an appointment, and they still find a way to take care of me, and I've been coming back here ever since. Yeah. So the barbershop, man, is a tradition. Sons, fathers, grandfathers all come to the barbershop and grow those relationships with their barbers. Yeah. And it's just a way for us to kind of connect. In layman terms, the female spa for men, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of opportunity that's in the barbershop as well too. As far as some of the people that you meet, me and Rick speak about it all the time, just the connections that are made here just from coming in, you know what I'm saying, and just relaxing and being yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little about yourself. Give us a little introduction. Who are you? What do you do? And we'll keep going. All
right. Well, my name is Byron Bimich. I am a sales manager for LP Building Solutions, but also too, I am a construction networking specialist. Mm-hmm. And so what that is just pretty much being able to be a plug or a connection in the construction process from start to finish, whether it's land development, framing, HVAC, all the way to a finished product, just being able to be an asset to everyone on all walks of the business.
Gotcha. Okay, and how long you been doing all that?
So I've been in the construction industry for well over 20 years. Okay. Been on different sides of it, from the dealer side, the construction side, and also too now the manufacturer side of the business. So it's been a great career in construction. Once I got into it, man, it was just something that was kind of like a safe place once again for me to kind of build what it is that I want to do and connect and help other people build as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is kind of goes into kind of your brand, Build Like Byron, right? Yeah. So you're kind of your goal is to really help people build on the construction side, but is there a personal component to that as well?
Yes, sir. So just like I have the connections in the building side of the business, the personal side is more of Build Like Byron is motivation. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I like to say is escape from excuses. I feel like we all have the same amount of time in the day, 24 hours, and it's up to you what you make out of that 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And there's opportunities everywhere for you to really grow and excel in what it is that you want to do in business. So just want to give people the motivation to go out and get it, man. Grow your network, grow all type of relationship and friendships on every level that you can, because no matter what room you're in, you never know who's in that room and who can actually help you excel or introduce you to someone that can help you excel in what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, especially here in Houston. And we were talking about that offline. It's just in Houston, you never know who you're talking to, right? Yes, and there's so many successful entrepreneurs and people who, they're one way at work, and then when you see them out in the community, they got the shoes on, they got the kicks on, they got the swag going on, and so you can never really judge a book by its cover in Houston. And so that's what I appreciate about the city, is that people really get to be themselves. You know what I mean? There's not that sometimes in New York, there's kind of just that elevated, like you got to be a certain way all the time.
Yes,
In Houston, you get to be yourself. You get to be a successful entrepreneur at work, and then be yourself, out in the community, and people still embrace you for that. And
Yes,
so I
sir.
appreciate that about the city for sure.
And one thing about Houston, it's a city that loves to collaborate. The collaboration in this city, to me, is second to none. Big city, so there's plenty of room for opportunity for everyone. But also, too, just being able to network and actually grow real genuine relationships.
Yeah.
A lot of people are open up to that in the Houston market, as I can see. So once again, I encourage everyone to pretty much, no matter where you are, man, barbershop, restaurant, grocery store, if you have a chance to connect and meet someone, introduce yourself, speak, you never know where that relationship can do and where
Absolutely. And I mean, me and you have lived this, right? Because we met at a networking event,
Yes,
right?
sir.
And then I kept seeing you everywhere after that. I was like, man, I keep seeing my man Byron everywhere, right? So obviously we're rolling in the same circles in terms of kind of where we're building professionally. So talk about just kind of like, what is your superpower when it comes to networking? And like, I mean, because it just feels like you're everywhere, right? And
Yes,
you're connected to everyone. And I'm like, man, how many people does this guy know, right? So talk about kind of how you're able to leverage that.
Yes, sir. So I wouldn't call it a superpower. What I would say is just the lack of fear with communicating and opening up relationships. Not being afraid to be rejected. My father taught me one important lesson growing up, and he said, son, people can only tell you two things, yes or no.
Yeah.
But you won't get that answer if you don't open up your mouth and ask.
Right.
And so once again, no matter if we grow a relationship or not, I definitely want to introduce myself and let you know who I am and what I do, because who knows further on down the line, if you do need me for something, I've grown and made that relationship with you, and I'm available to make sure I'm there to help you.
Right, absolutely. Is there any techniques you use to start conversations, right? And the reason I ask you that is because like I personally have been, now that I'm a real estate agent, anybody could be a lead, right? And so any conversation could lead to, hey, I need to buy a house, or I need to sell my house, or whatever, right? And so being able to create that value to get into the conversation, especially when you're at networking events, you're out in the community, people are doing their thing, right? So they're not always just open to conversation. You know what I mean? You're at the gym, people got their headphones in, they're working out, you're at a restaurant, people are eating their food, getting their drinks, you know what I mean? So it's not always like a in, right? So is there like specific strategies or things you do to like create that opportunity to build that relationship with somebody like out the gate?
Honestly, man, no strategic plan. It's just being genuine with my opening conversation and introducing myself. One thing that I've learned, honestly, also too in this industry, once you introduce yourself to someone, just be able to listen. Be able to listen and let them speak, and they'll pretty much tell you everything it is that you really need to know on how to really keep and indulging in a conversation with them and how the relationship can actually grow.
Yeah.
So listening, number one, I would say, is most definitely key. But also, too, just having the genuine passion and willingness to want to help somebody. While you're listening, see if there's any pain points or anything that they may spit out there, and then just kind of contemplate on what it is that you can do to maybe be an asset to that individual.
Yeah, something that I do, I'm actually building out a referral spreadsheet, right? So anytime I meet somebody on Instagram or at a networking event, I'm getting their phone number, their email, their Instagram handle, and I'm putting it in my spreadsheet, and then I put like what they do, right? So in any conversation, anybody comes to me, whether it's real estate related or not, I can go to my spreadsheet and be like, oh, I got somebody for you, right? So that's something that I've been able to do, because typically you go to an event, you pass business cards, you get phone numbers, but then like you either forget, and if there's not like an immediate action point from that, it's like it's kind of hard to kind of bring it back up in a year, right? So you forget about people. So I'm like, that's something that I've been doing that people can, you can take that for if you want, or if you got a CRM, being able to like definitely organize people so how to help them at some point. So
and I think that's going to be a great tool for you, because one of the things that I strive on as well too is follow up. Because we meet a lot of people at all these events that we go to, and we make these connections, but one of the key things that a lot of people forget about is the actual follow-up. Make sure you follow up with that individual that you met, whether it's just hey, how you doing, just kind of want to see how things are going, or whether it may be something that you guys talked about on the business aspect to see if there's any way to kind of get the ball rolling and make that happen. So follow up is key.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love that. I think so let me give you a scenario, right? And I want to kind of see how you would handle this, right? So you walk into the gym, and you know there's people in there that are doing real estate, right? So what would be the first thing you would do if you kind of know somebody, you see somebody at the gym, you kind of know, hey, I know they're in real estate. How would you go and approach that person? Let's say they don't know you from Joe, right? How would you walk up to them and be like, hey man, like I'm in real estate, here's how I can help you? Like, what would be your approach?
So once again, just a true genuine introduction of myself. Just give a little bit about what it is that I do, and then also too, once again, just let them listen, ask questions, ask key questions that I know that I can be a solution for.
Right.
And once you get them talking and answering those questions, the relationship just kind of grows from there. And then just if you say you're going to help them, make sure you come through on the things that you actually speak about, because people don't forget that. And Houston is a big city, but at the same time, it also is small.
Right.
So word of mouth spreads a lot.
Yeah.
And so if you come through it for that individual, trust me, they will put that information out in their network, and definitely your name will spread around that.
Yeah, and I think the value of good questions is so important. I was watching Club Shay Shay the other day, and he interviewed Keith Lee, and it's so funny because during the episode, Keith Lee kept being like, "Man, that's a good question, bro. You're really good at this, right?" And so it's really interesting to me that obviously Shannon Sharp is at the top of the game in terms of just his podcast, his interview, the kind of people he has on there. But I think also what makes it good is he asks good questions, right? And so it comes from that curiosity and that willing to help. And so I think, in our society, I think, you say be a good listener and ask good questions. I think everyone would agree that those are good, but I don't know that people really understand how to do that, right? And so for me, I know for myself, that's been a superpower for me on this podcast, is just being able to really get to that next level with my guests. And so something that I think has really helped me is just being genuinely curious and trying to get to that pain point that you mentioned. Like, hey, how do I figure out what this person needs? And there's also this human psychology thing that I've tapped into, that people genuinely want to talk about themselves, right? They want to look good, right? Yes, and I think that's not necessarily narcissistic. It's just hey, we live in a world where people are constantly trying to take something from you. People are constantly trying to pull you down. So we just all just want to be a hero for a minute, right? And so being able to how can I find the gold in you to help prop you up, right? And so that's something, in terms of if you're thinking about how to ask good questions, try to find what somebody's good at. What is their superpower? That's why I asked you, hey, what's your networking superpower, man? I want to know why. I want you to brag on yourself, right? Gotcha. And so kind of give me, what are your thoughts on that? And
I can kind of tie it into why we're here at the actual barbershop now. I feel like the barbers have that superpower. It's something about sitting down in the chair and the comfort that they give you as far as being able to listen to what it is that you may have going on that you're not able to really speak about to someone on the outside. Growing that personal relationship with them. So it's about, just to me, honestly, creating a real genuine and personal relationship with that person to get them to kind of open up. Right. But a lot of times in sales too, people think you're trying to sell them something. Don't come off as trying to sell them something. Come off as a problem solver, as someone who can create a solution to what it is that they're going for. Right. So I think if people can kind of be more of a problem solver and someone who creates solutions instead of selling them something, I think that's what helped the relationship be a lot more genuine and grow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talk a lot about, you go on social media for 5 minutes and you're gonna see somebody telling you to add value, right? And honestly, at this point, I don't even like saying that anymore, because it's so, again, we just say all this genuine information that people don't know how to execute on. What do you mean add value? What does that mean, right? Something I also learned in business was, adding value. I was like, oh, that means I got to give them all the tips and tricks, right? And I realized that people don't respect tips and tricks anymore, right? Tips and tricks, that's just yo, thank you, I'm gonna go use that information. That don't mean I'm gonna hire you, right? You know what I mean? So I was like, tips and tricks are not making me money, right? So how do I add value without just giving away all my tips and tricks, right? So I don't know, what are your thoughts on what is adding value, right? And how do you do that in your life?
Adding value to me is kind of in the sense of going above and beyond. In my industry, there are several competitors that pretty much do the same thing that I do, and so it's, what am I doing different to continue to grow and nurture and keep that business? Because we all have the same goal in mind, but I feel like you have to, adding value is going the extra mile, going the extra mile and finding ways to help them outside of just the business. People go through personal things on a regular. we can work together for 25 years, and I might not know that your wife has cancer or that your son is sick or your son is ill.
Right.
So tapping into that personal side of the relationship, to me, is how I also add value.
Yeah.
Actually showing that I care
Yeah.
outside of the business that we're
Yeah.
involved in.
Got you. So being a whole person,
Yeah.
being a real
yeah,
person.
being a whole real, yes sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's sad that you got to tell people to be authentic and
Yeah.
be a real person. And part of that is like, I want to be compassionate and realize that like part of the reason I said earlier is like a lot of times we want to present our best selves. Like we want people to respect us. We want people to look at us and go, okay, wow, that person is amazing, right? And sometimes we're insecure about our personal lives. Sometimes we're insecure about like, well, hey, I'm actually not as great as people think I am. You know what I mean? Or maybe that's your perception. And like, going back to that episode with Club Shay Shay, Keith Lee kept saying that. He kept being like, yeah, I don't really see myself the way other people see me. You know what I mean? So I think there's a reality, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand their own value, right? So when they talk about being authentic, like they can't be authentic because they're insecure, right? They can't show up their best self because they're like, hey, I don't think that I have anything to offer, right? And so something that I'm really passionate about is how do we empower people and how do we encourage them to just be who God has called them to be, right? How do we find like the thing that you're supposed to be on this earth to do, right? And so what I want to ask you is kind of like beyond the business, beyond the brand, like what is it that like you're called to do as a human on this earth, if you know what that is?
Man, it's to motivate. It's to motivate, to give people encouragement, and actually not just give it to them, just show them like, hey, this is where I came from and this is where I am now. You have the same opportunities to do it, but in the beginning it starts with you. You have to want to do it, and so it's actually creating an energy to give them, to let them know, just get started. Once you get started, man, everything is just going to come natural. And also too, don't be scared. A lot of people are scared to fail. Don't be scared to fail. And that's what I said, just having a lack of fear of failing. I won't know if I'm going to fail if I don't try. So motivating them to take that first step and just be the inspiration to show you, look, I made the first step. You can make the first step too. What can I do to help you make that first step? Not just tell you to make the first step, but how can I be involved of helping you make that first step?
So how do you manage failure and fear, right? That's one of my biggest one of my biggest insecurities is just rejection and disappointment, right? And so I've had to fight so hard to be able to push myself past that. And I've actually shared this on my Instagram before, but when I was in college, I played college football at Mary Hardin Baylor, and I felt like my freshman year, bro, I was a star freshman, right? Like I came in, I was making plays everywhere. Everybody's like, oh, this is the new guy, right?
Yes, sir.
Sophomore and junior year, like I just underperformed, right? And ended up losing my job to another freshman who came in. He was balling out, right? Love my boy Dwayne, you know what I mean? Love him, but like Dwayne took my job, and I was like, dang, man. But I think there was key moments that I remember now as an adult that I'm like, dang, that was the moment where I could have broke through, right? And I don't know what would have happened, you know what I mean? But there was like speeches I could have made. There was like, at one point I felt like I should have asked my coach to get more playing time, and I didn't ask him. I was like, well, if I deserve it, they'll give it to me, right? And I feel like I think my coaches could sense that I was kind of holding back, right? And they were telling me that, but they couldn't tell me exactly what to do. And I was like, well, tell me what to do. And I think it was something inner in myself that I had to tap into.
Yes, sir.
And so that motivated me now as an adult. I don't ever want to feel like that again. So for me, I already know, like now, like, hey, I'm pushing through. Yes, I'm willing to take the lumps, but it kind of took a lot of self-awareness to get to that point that I don't think everybody gets there. You know what I mean? So I guess this question is really, I think, to help people kind of do that own work on themselves. So I know it was a super long question, but going back to the original question is kind of like, I guess, how do you work through that rejection, right? Because that is like a reality. Like, hey, like nobody wants to fail, right? And some failures, like people go through bankruptcy, and like there are tough failures, failed marriages. So this isn't just like, hey man, just like, just pick yourself up. Like sometimes these are really devastating failures that people go through in life. So how would you tell somebody to like really take that next step when it comes to like business and really doing the thing? You know what I mean?
Well, one thing I will say is nothing happens overnight. So it's a process. And I know it's cliche with saying trust the process, but honestly, trust the process. And I feel like if you are able to actually kind of have tunnel vision on what it is that you want to do and really focus in, it's going to take discipline, a lot of discipline. And if you can really just have that discipline and have the tunnel vision to kind of focus in on what it is that you want to do, because there's a lot of distractions. Social media is a distraction, everyday life, there's a distraction,
Right.
So just really kind of having the strength to really be disciplined and focus in on what it is that you want to accomplish, and you most definitely can accomplish it. Now, in life, you're going to fail. And if you look, a lot of the most successful people, they didn't get successful till after 40. So you have a lot of the youth out there that think and see social media and see things on TV and see the blow up overnight, and don't realize the work that those people put in behind the scenes to get to where they are.
Right.
And hard work, and also too, I will say, just a little bit of luck. Comes along with it.
Absolutely.
But one of the key things I think that people need to do to understand that is grow your network, because you never know who that person is that you can talk to open up. Just a quick story, Mr. Erwin Nichols. Had the opportunity to meet that good brother, and he really changed my mindset on a lot of things and how I go about my everyday relationships.
Who is that?
So Erwin Nichols is Mr. Real Estate. He's one of the premier real estate agents in the city of Houston.
Okay.
A really amazing guy, man.
Okay.
And he's been influential in me networking and introduced me to a lot of the key people that I have in my life today. And the first time that we met, the only thing he did for about an hour was just listen. He let me speak. He let me talk. I gave him a whole spiel of everything that I do, what I'm trying to do. He listened. And at the end of the conversation, everything that I told him, he had a person to introduce me to. So in that moment, he wasn't selfish, and he was willing to give me the opportunity to meet these people.
Right.
And so they always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And on top of that, I say it's what you know when you get in the door. And so if people are willing to put you in these situations, take advantage of them, listen and learn, and just pay it forward, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know Myron Golden?
No, sir.
Okay, so Myron Golden is like a business coach guru. And what I appreciate about Myron is that, like, Myron's at the top of his game in terms of what he does, right? I mean, he's, 8-figure, like, I mean, he just does the thing, right? He's also a believer, a black man. And I appreciate about him is that, like, in one of his, I started discovering him from YouTube, but then I went to one of his conferences and he talked about, what's for you is what's for you. He said, when you go into a sales conversation, you got to have the energy that, like, yo, like, if I'm the person for you, that's fine. If I'm not, like, I don't have to beg you for my business, right? And that takes trust in yourself. It takes trust in God, because, like, hey, when it comes down to it, like, so we gotta pay bills. We gotta, like, and there's things we gotta pay for, right? So sometimes that energy to just be like, hey, I don't need your business, when I actually really do need your business. You know what I mean? Like, that's harder said than done, right? But I think it goes back to, like, what you just said is, like, really kind of being willing to kind of zoom out of that, right? And be able to say, hey, when I go into a conversation with someone, can I turn off that piece of my brain that's like, what can I get from them, right? What do they have that I need, right? And it's like, can I just listen to them and, like, hey, is there an opportunity for me to serve them first? Because the theory of reciprocity is why I am here today, right? It's like, hey, I've been able to help add value to other people, and then it comes back around, right? And I never really know when it's gonna come back around, but I just, at this point, I'm kind of like, and I want to, like, I just turned 30, and so you talked about, like, 40s kind of like some people really hit that next level. I'm like, let me spend the next 10 years just getting some data, right? And I just wonder, like, could we figure this process out? Like, could I figure out, like, you know what I mean? Like, what is it going to take for it to come back around? You know what I mean? I don't know. But, like, I definitely think that there's, like, that energy you have to have that trust in yourself, that confidence in yourself, that trust in God to be able to, like, just go into a conversation and just listen, right? Or just go into a conversation knowing that, like, hey, if it's for me, it's for me. If it's not, it's not, right? And I've told people, like, hey, listen, like, if I'm not the person for you, go find the person. Let me help you find the person. But, like, don't waste my time. Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like, I'm getting to that point where I'm like, yo, energy is so important. Who you work with, who your clients are is also important, right? And so, like, at this point, I'm like, I'm trusting God, because I'm like, I don't want to beg you for your business. I don't want to beg you, and, like, you know what I mean? That have that energy. So I think that's definitely something that's just, like, that kind of energy, that kind of trust kind of helps you implement some of the things you're talking about, for sure.
And then I feel also too, if you take feelings out of business, in business, not everyone is going to like you.
Yeah.
But not everyone is supposed to like you.
Yeah.
You just have to focus on you and what it is that you're trying to accomplish and get that accomplished.
Yep.
And so as soon as we're able to take our feelings out of the whole business process, I think it'll make us a lot stronger in what it is that what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so
Can I
Yes, sir.
chime in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir. Please go
Absolutely.
ahead.
Man, just listen to what you were saying about the fear aspect. You made me think about when I first opened my shop. It was December of 19, and it was when I opened that first shop. It was right when COVID hit. So I had like a whole bunch of money invested in the shop. That soon as I got right at the door, it was like COVID hit.
Dang.
So I just bought a house. I bought a new car. So it was that fear moment.
Yes, sir.
But you know, a lot of times I look like where we are now. It's kind of like this business was supposed to fail a long time ago during COVID, but just to keep driving and have that effort and see where is it at now. That's why I know this promise. You know what I mean?
You know, what's for you is gonna be for you. You know?
Yeah.
Team, me and you've been knowing each other for I don't know, many years. And when you first came to me talking about doing this shop, I told you it was gonna work for you.
Yes, sir.
There's always gonna be an obstacle to try to deter you from doing it. Sure. All you gotta do is push through. If it's meant for you, it's meant for you, bro. This was meant for you. So
Yeah.
all the stuff that came in to try to slow it down, all you had to do was keep pushing, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it was gonna work.
the thing I want to add to that too is, you know, I think there's like,
Real.
yeah, that was good. Thank y'all for adding those points. You know, obviously, you know, your faith in God, I think is also important, but I think like the work that goes in behind it, right? And I think that's where I think a lot of people don't understand. Cause I'm sure like you had to really work to keep the business afloat during the pandemic, right? And like you still here, but I'm sure there was something practical. I mean, you was doing something like you had to switch the business model, like something had to change, right? So it's like, okay, like what are the inputs that go into the business on the back end to help you get through those hard times or to help you get to that next level, if that makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It was determination, man. It was time I would rent Airbnbs and transfer my clientele to the Airbnb because we had to like shut down shop for like 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people like, man, you crazy to go risk your life. You know what I'm saying? But I felt like I was gonna have to die trying to make my brand remain or lose it. So I was willing to go out there and steal for your people who your first responders, your guys from Centerpoint. Who had to they still wanted to look a certain way.
Right.
So I was willing to risk that.
Man, that's amazing.
And if I can piggyback
All
on
of
that,
that play a part.
Yeah.
that's a good point too, man, because in business, man, you're going to get hit with obstacles. It's the perseverance and being able to pivot and find a new way to be able to continue to be successful in a business. And I think a lot of times people just accept failure instead of realizing that there is another option. Just kind of rebrand yourself, you know, and once again, think outside the box of ways that it is to be. And then the customer service aspect of willing to rent Airbnbs to cut your customers' hair to still give them that feeling of, you know, being fresh. And that's another reason why I kind of wanted to bring it to the barbershop, is because, man, these barbers, man, they're like therapists. You know, we're able to come in here and really really let go, man, and with no judgment or anything of that such. But also too, what tied it to the barbershop is we come in here and we're a blank canvas. It's land development. They're able to come in, sit in a chair, and they clear the land, they pour the foundation, they build a home, and you walk out of here, you know, multi-million-dollar home on your head. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Honestly,
That's a
brother.
good metaphor right there.
And so it's ties together in so many other ways too. The networking aspect, man. When you were here the first time when we kind of got this set up, you were able to get connected with 2 or 3 people in the barbershop just that day on your first time for coming in, and you weren't even in here to get a cut. So imagine coming in, sitting, and just listening to the conversations that's being had, whether it's football, business, no matter what, you can get that here. And just be able to relax, man. There's sometimes I can come in here and not even speak. I mean, not speak to everyone, but, you know, not say anything. I can sit back and just kind of enjoy the haircut, you know, and get that me time. Man, if I don't start the conversation, Rick let me do what I do, and he does what he do, and it's a stress-free process, man. So I just feel like whatever element you want to get in conversation, man, can be found right here inside the barbershop.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think it goes to that concept of community, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
who you surround yourself will help you drive to where you're trying to go to. And, you know, a lot of people sometimes, like, you know, there's rooms that they can't get into, right? Or they feel like they can't, there are rooms that they feel like they can't get into. And it's like, okay, well, what are you doing with what you currently have, right? Like, are you going into the barbershop and networking with the people who are already in there, right? At your church, are you connecting with people who are at your church? Like, you got to use what you have, right? And that'll help you elevate. And then you obviously got to put yourself in the right positions, right? So you got to make sure you're in the right communities initially to even have those entry level conversations, right? And so like I think the barbershop is something that like, you know, I appreciate that we're here, and this is a different style of barbershop than I'm used to, right? Because like I'm from kind of a newer generation to where like I don't go shit in the barbershop anymore. Like I go get my haircut, I make my appointment, I get my haircut, and I'm gone, right? Like I don't really like, and my barber, like he's got one room, right? So it's just me and him talking, right? There's no other people in the room, right? And that's just, I like it like that. I'm like, hey, let me go sit down and get out, you know what I mean? But I'm like, oh wait, I forgot about what the connections you can make in here, right? Like I said, I was in here, met 2 people, got 2 phone numbers, 2 emails. You never know what was going to happen. I was like, dang, I forgot about that, right? And so I even think about just, I think a lot of people in our society are realizing that, right? The pandemic was a big reason for that because we kind of got out of our normal habits, but just remembering that like, okay, like I still got to be a part of my community. I still got to show up for my community. And that looks different from everybody, right? And it can't be as simple as like, yo, come into your barbershop and just say hi to everybody. Like, you know what I mean? Shake every hand, you know what I mean? Like it could be as simple as that, and you just never know what happens after that. And you do that, I'm sure if you did that every single time you went to the barbershop and you shook everybody in their hand, at some point somebody gonna be like, who are you, right? And you just never know. That's the person that's gonna hire you for your next job, bring your next thing. You just never know, right? And so I always think about like, okay, like those are the kind of things that I think we have to start coaching, specifically men, specifically black men, because I feel like I'm proud of our black women, because black women have had to fight for a long time for what's theirs, right? And I feel like a lot of black men, we have too, but I think sometimes black men, like we have just gotten so discouraged that we just don't even show up anymore, right? And we just kind of find the easy path and we just do that, right? And so I think there has to be some more empowerment and some more mentorship that has to happen for especially young black men to kind of see like, hey, how do I actually do this, right? Because I think for our generation, we kind of have some of those skill sets built in just based on how society was, right? Like you just, you know, I grew up where, you know, when I was, you know, 8, 10, 11, 12, like we just sat in the barbershop for 3 hours every Saturday morning. So like I got to learn social skills. I got to learn conflict management. There was stuff I was just getting secondhand. And I think the next generation, I don't know if they always have those opportunities. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
And so that's why I commend Ten and Rick also too here at Next Level, because those are the things that you get whenever you do come into the barbershop.
Right.
I mean, like I said earlier in the show, you know, there's grandfathers, there's sons and grandsons that all come into this barbershop, and that's carried down for generation and generation and generation. You know, but also too, it creates that leadership. It shows young black boys that they can come in here and they can be successful. You know, they can see someone running a successful barbershop. They can hear about a conversation about he's building this in construction. They can hear a conversation about he's doing this in real estate. They can hear a conversation about he's doing this with social media. Right now, if we had anyone coming to this establishment right now and see you, a black man running his own Blueprint podcast, right? That's motivation to him as well. So these are the things that we have to do more, right, to get out in front of the public, to show them that it can be done.
Yeah, it can, and it can be done at a high level, and it can be done in a way that like is beneficial for everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody can eat. And so I guess that's kind of probably, I guess my last question for you is in terms of like the next step, right? What's the next thing for you and your brand, and kind of what you're trying to do and how you're trying to implement kind of some of the things we've talked about today?
The next step for me, man, is just kind of continue to do what it is that I'm doing on the motivational side, as far as helping people build themselves, but also to just hopefully I can reach someone and they're inspired about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish and do the same thing. Looking to grow any partnerships that I can with anyone who's looking to help build motivation, whether it's with your team, whether it's at home, no matter what situation you're in, just seeing if I can be there to help you, kind of motivate you to motivate yourself, to know that whatever it is that you aspire to be, that you definitely can do that.
Yeah, and the thing I appreciate about you is that like you back up everything that you say, right? So I've got to see it firsthand from the first time we sat down at that coffee shop to here. I'm like, dang, like hey, Byron was not just blowing smoke up my butt, like he actually does the things, right? And you show up for everybody, right? And so obviously that's part of your job too, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, you know, how people show up for their job matters too.
And just to kind of add to that, that's what's helped me start to grow the success, is just by being present, man. Just being present, you know, not being afraid to walk in certain rooms. Sometimes I'm in a room where I'm the only person that look like myself, but I don't get discouraged. I don't have that fear like we spoke about earlier. And number one, I'm just gonna be myself and be the genuine person who I am. I'm not gonna switch it up and change for nobody. Once again, everyone's not gonna like you, but if I feel that I can go in any room. I know I can go in any room and be myself and be able to get accomplished what I set out to accomplish.
Man, that's good, bro. You got any last words? You got any questions for us or anything that you kind of want to talk about, or kind of like your stamp you want to leave on this episode?
Kind of just, really kind of talk with Tin and Nick about what do they see as far as with the barbershop and everyone coming in, and just kind of like their feel on everything that we kind of like talked about today.
Absolutely.
Man, I think it's very educational for people to understand like what's out there and available for people. And to tick back in on the barbershop stuff, man, when you come in here, you never know who you might run into. Man, we got celebrities, like you say, construction owners, mainstream dentists, people who own mainstream dentists, doctors, everything is available to you at the traditional barbershop. And shout out to everybody who has their own little thing going, because there's a niche for every notch. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Some people may like the private one-on-one, but the traditional barbershops are very, it's very important for the community.
Yes.
Right.
And I think us coming out here, man, where we're at, man, it's been nothing but a blessing. We've met some very influential people, and things are looking good. And I'm glad to see young brothers like yourselves doing things like this here to put things out there in the community, man. Absolutely. Y'all doing a good thing, brother.
Man, really appreciate it, man. And I think that's one of the key components to community, man. The barbershop is a community. Not only are they here to serve the community, but it's a community. It's a brotherhood to be able to come in into a good barbershop. And especially when you have a barbershop that creates the vibes that this barbershop creates, man. There's some days I come in here and I can't even tell you the genre of music they might be playing, but it's something that's gonna connect to me. Y'all
got country music in here yet?
Let's
go.
R&B, old R&B, 70s music. Man, we play
that's multi-generational,
man. They do,
I love
man.
that, man. Anybody can come in here and feel like this is the place for them.
And we do it where everybody's comfortable, man. When women can come in here,
yes.
The kids can, come in here. There's nothing. Being outrageously.
That is so important, right? A family-friendly space where, like, obviously men need to be able to come to a space and feel comfortable being men, but at the same time, it's got to be respectful, right? And it's got to be a place that, like, okay, I can bring my son in here and I can feel like, okay, he's gonna be mentored by other people, and not like, oh, hold up, like, let me cover his ears real quick because the conversation getting a little crazy, you know what I mean? So I appreciate it. And obviously, again, everybody's got their own standards, right? So I'm not here to police what people can say or how the energy, but I appreciate that's at least top of y'all's mind, you know what I mean? So I appreciate that.
We've been blessed with a group of young men and young ladies in here that all respect the fact of, hey, we can't talk about certain things when there's certain people here and things of that nature. So it's been good, man. It's beautiful.
Anything you want to add, Tim?
No, man.
That's
you
it.
got it.
That's it. All right.
I was trying to think of something while we were talking. I was like, he walked it down.
All right. Well, y'all heard it first. Next Level Cuts out here in Missouri City. We're going to put the information in the description, the link. You can come in here and get your hair cut. Thank you to Mr. Byron B. Image for just coming on the podcast, adding value. We'll have Byron's information in the description as well. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and give us a like. Let us know that you appreciate this episode, and then share it with a friend. I think the conversation today has been very life-giving to me as somebody who's in the podcast. So I know for those of you who are listening that you might have somebody in mind who needs to hear this. So go ahead and send them a link to that. And other than that, I'll see y'all in the next episode of the Blueprint Podcast. Peace.